the family in the car. It's that time of year. Wonder and excitement wait at Gillian's Wonderland Pier. Try the roller coaster ride or the giant wheel and touch the sky. Summer days and nights, Wonder Bear will be your guide. Fun for every age and size. Make the summer come alive. Wonder and excitement wait at Gillian's Wonderland Pier. Gillian's Wonderland Pier. Gillian's Wonderland Pier. Gillian's Wonderland Pier.
We're going to show you Canyon Falls Log Flume. This is where guests wait in line to get on the ride. The exit, we're actually going to go up the exit now, but this is where everybody gets out. As you can see here, we have a huge maze that we can actually close that fence and allow the line to wrap around here. So the ride was built by O.D. Hopkins. A lot of amusement parks in the United States have Hopkins Flumes. Probably noticed Six Flags Great Adventure here in New Jersey has one, along with the Maury's in Wildwood. So we are very lucky that we have this attraction. We have 11 boats on the ride currently. The boats have no seat belts if you look inside. 2 people, 2 guests per boat. We usually have adults sit in the back and then the child in front. There's some railings here that the guests can hold on to when they're on the ride. One big thing that we ask guests not to bring on, and you might not be able to see it from this side, but it says no hats. No hats are permitted on the log flume, period. What will happen is, as they go down the drop here, hat flies off, it's gone forever. It's underneath the ride. I can't tell you how many hats that we have found after we've closed for the season underneath that drop there, because people just don't read the message. This is the ride manufacturer's label that all the rides have. As you can see, the manufacturer is listed here. It says the name of the ride and the year it was built, 1992. The ride itself requires 2 operators. We have one up top and we have one down here at the bottom. The one down here at the bottom is the operator who takes tickets, checks heights, and makes sure the guests get safely into the boat and exit the boat when they get out of the ride. So One operator should stand right here, collecting tickets and checking heights. So it's a minimum of just one height requirement, 42 inches tall. So anybody under the 42-inch height requirement can ride the ride as long as they're with somebody. There's no minimum height requirement. Inside the control booth, this is the main operator control panel. Again, the ride has two. We'll show you the one up top in a few minutes. So the control power is here. We have, let me flip this light on so you can see. We have a telephone here that communicates with the top. So as soon as you pick this line up, it calls immediately to the top. It's the way they communicate with one another when they open and they close the ride or when there's an emergency. But this is the control panel here. We have the main control power switch here that we use the key for. Mode main, which is maintenance mode. So when the ride's being maintained or serviced, we tend to put it in maintenance mode. It makes the process a little bit easier. The ride has several emergency brakes. This is for the actual ride itself. This is for the overall pumps that run the water. Down here, if you see here, we have station start, station stop. These are the main pumps for the ride, and we have a show water pump, which is the water that comes down the trough in the big drop. So you see that water that comes down as the boat goes down the drop, that's what that show water is. So those have to be turned on in order for the ride to run. This is a ride, once it starts, it's continuously running. As the boats move slowly through the station, guests can easily hop in and hop out. So you will rarely ever see this ride stop unless there's a huge emergency that we need to stop it. Over here is just the general maintenance and personnel buttons that we have for the operators in case there is an assistance needed. One tap of these, we get dispatched right away and we can help the operator out. On the other side of the platform, this is where we keep all the boats. This mechanism here we use to pick up the boats and put them into the water. So it's pretty self-explanatory. These attach to the inside of the boat, and then we just pull these chains and it allows it to go up, and then we can safely put it onto the track so it can go into the water. And at the end of the season, we take a forklift, and we usually have that parked right over in that section of the ride, so it's easy to get the boats out. And we put the forklift in, and then boom, we get the ride, we get them out. So.
Okay everyone, so Dan showed you how the bottom of Canyon Falls works. I'm going to show you how the top works, and this is going to be a lot of fun to a lot of people. So we're going to show you. We're going to go through these doors, we're going to head up top. This is what every ride operator does. It's going to be a little loud in here. Got a key. Alright, here we go. Now normally, if you're the ride operator on top of the Flume, we have jackets right here that you can take because it's going to get chilly up there. But always make sure you put it back on the hook when you leave. That's an old jacket. Alright, always make sure the door is shut and locked so no guests can get in. And we're going to head up top. Like when it's turned off. So yeah. And here we go. All right. So right over here, as you can see, we have a few sensors right here. We have a couple outlets right here in case we're working on something. This ladder is to hop on top just in case we need to fix one of the belts that pull up the boats. So let's go over to the control center. Watch your step over here. Now these guys right over here, there's one of them on every single one of the belts. This is how we shut the main power on and off. But we usually leave it on during the summer, and in the wintertime we shut it off. So here we go. Get a nice view of the giant wheel, right? The best part is you could almost touch the giant wheel back in the 1990s. It was very close. Got a few more sensors right here. Now, this is the main control panel for the operator to be up here. We have a stool here. In case the operator gets tired of standing, the operator can always sit down, but for the most part, we like to have the ride operator standing up, paying attention to the ride at all times. Now, what you control up here is on the bottom. The operator on the bottom controls the station that moves the boats and the main pumps. The operator that stands up here controls the main lift that pulls the boats up, the lift out right before the boats drop, and also the elevated trough pump that works up here. So the first thing you want to do is you want to make sure all your pumps are turned on. Now most of the time maintenance will usually do that, so that way everything is up and running. So that way the only thing the ride operators have to do is to turn the lifts on and space out the boats. And here's how you do it. Okay, so you have your lift start, lift stop, lift out start, lift out stop. And you have your elevated trough pump start, elevated trough pump stop. You never usually touch the stop button because the way the ride is controlled, the main power is down below. Whenever the boats are parked at the end of the night and the water's still running, usually the operator on the bottom will turn the key and that shuts the whole ride off. Electricity, water, everything. Most of the time, you're only going to be pushing lift start, lift stop, lift out start, lift out stop. And here is your status display for all the sensors. It tells you where the boats are.
So the ride has several sensors, and these are very important. The boats will not operate properly if these sensors are not turned on properly.
Never attempt to fix something yourself as a ride operator. Never do that. You always want to call maintenance. Now, it used to be about 10 years ago when I first started this ride back in 2014, we used to have a key in here to turn off the water. And it used to look like a medieval dungeon master key. It was huge. But around 2016, 2017, management decided, let's take the key out and let's just put a switch in here. And this switch always stays on. There's no reason to shut this switch off because, again, the main power is down at the bottom. So we usually just leave this on. Now, you might be wondering, how do you communicate with the person down below to figure out how to space out the boats? We got a phone right in here. Open this up. Always make sure this is locked at the end of the night. Open it up. We have a phone in here. You pick this phone up, it immediately starts ringing. The person down below should hear it. And vice versa for down below. The person picks up the phone, you're going to start hear it ringing up here. Make sure it's back in. We'll plug this back in. Okay. If something goes wrong with your ride, we have a maintenance button right over here. This is for maintenance, this is for personnel. Personnel for the bathroom break, maintenance if something's wrong with the ride. And you'll know if something's wrong with the ride. How will you know? If the belts decide to stop, the trouble alarm will go off. It takes a while to pick up on certain things when you're operating it. For example, let's say you're riding the ride and it stops for a second on the belt. Now normally the guests would think, oh, there's something wrong with the ride. Not always, because sometimes the way the water moves the boats have to be spaced out at a certain length in order for the ride to function. That's what the sensors are for. If the boats are too close together, the sensors pick that up they will stop the belts for a couple seconds until the boats in the water keep going, and then the sensors tell the ride, okay, it's okay to move the belts. Because if the boats are too close together, what you're gonna have is, if two boats are too close together, they will go down at the same time. And we can't have that. You're gonna have boats hitting into each other. We can't have that. So, that's pretty much it. So we are going to start the elevated trough pump start right now. There it goes. It's coming around. Okay. Now, I usually don't start spacing out my boats until the person down below is ready to rock. We call them up on the phone. And now I'm ready to start the boats. So here we go. Okay, now you see how that boat is stuck right before the sensor and it's not moving? That's because the boat in the water still has to get some space. Once the boat comes all the way around in the water, that's when we're gonna start it again. There we go. That's about enough space. There we go.
For 1992, this was pretty impressive.
Yeah, O.D. Hopkins did a good job manufacturing this ride. So that's pretty much it. But your main job up here as a ride operator is making sure that the guests are sitting the right way. There's 4 people per boat, 2 in the front, 2 in the back, facing forward, not backward. Always make sure that the water is going over the rocks. This is why it's important to be standing right here. Okay, you want to make sure you're seeing the water going over the rocks. If water is not going over the rocks, the ride will just stop. And that's going to be an issue. So you want to make sure that you always know what you're doing. Never, ever, ever put your hand inside here, in front of the sensor. Because you do that, the sensor is going to pick up on something, and then it's going to stop. You never want to mess with the sensors. These sensors are very, very delicate, okay? So, and there's sensors all over the place. For example, those 2 sensors over there is this light right over here. Those 2 over there are these 2 right here. This one right here is over here. And then we have a couple sensors right before the drop, which is right here. And we got a couple more down on the bottom. Because that's how the ride is able to tell, okay, the boat that just came down went past the sensor in the station. It's okay to send the next boat down. Because if it's not okay, if the boat before it didn't hit the sensor, this belt will stop for a couple seconds and wait for the boat to give it some time. So if you've ever been on this ride and sometimes the boat will stop for a couple seconds, that's why. It means the boats are too close together. And when these boats are in the water and when the kids, rock the boats back and forth, sometimes that actually slows down the boat, believe it or not. It does. So when you do that, boats get close together, the ride's gonna pick up on that and it's gonna stop it, wait for the boat to get some distance, and then starts up again. And the thing is, the operator doesn't even have to press start or stop. The ride does it on its own. It'll stop on its own, wait 5 seconds, and then start back up on its own. If it doesn't start back up on its own, maintenance button's right over here. So yeah, so that's about it. That's Canyon Falls Log Flume. And something else I want to say, I remember back in 2014, we used to have an umbrella up here. And the umbrella...
I was up here when it flew off.
Yeah.
It flew into the dumpster back there.
Perfect trajectory.
It was during a rainstorm.
Yeah.
I was scared because I didn't realize it was going to do it, and boom.
But I remember, so it blew off, and the one thing that always bugged me about it was that, you get really massive sunburn up here because you're exposed to the sun up here. So I remember back in 2016, our head of maintenance, Bug Clerkin, he actually built this little cubicle up here. I remember him building this in 2016, and this does help. It does help for a little bit. It doesn't help around 6 o'clock when the sun gets over there.
If you remember, that's when he built the one on the Moby Dick too.
That's right. That's right. He did because we couldn't, because the umbrella, if the umbrella's too close to the ride, you can't, like Wacky Worm. That's why the Wacky Worm umbrella is on the opposite side. It can't be where the ride control panel is because it's too close to the ride. It's going to get hit. So basically, that's pretty much all I have to say. And here's a motor right here. That's the motor that controls the lift. And right in here, I'll show you this. Now, there's the show water pump right over there. That's where the show water comes out. And the show water is the water that just runs all the way over the trough. That's why we call it show water. It's for show. Now these rollers right here, these come out. We change these every now and then. These blocks right here, these are wooden blocks because these rollers are rolling 24/7 all the time during the summer. And sometimes these blocks get worn out. So we have to pull the rods out, pull the blocks out, either switch them or get some new blocks. Most of the time we have to change them and put new blocks in just to be safe.
Now, who makes the blocks?
I don't know. We have a ton of them in the maintenance shop, but I'm not sure how we do that. So I can't help but think that because this ride has been sitting here since 1992, the old giant wheel used to be right next door to it, and one of the support beams that held the wheel went right down here. Right down here. You know, the old giant wheel from 1989 to 2000. So that's pretty cool. And also I like to think that right on the opposite side is where the giant Pepsi bear stood. Literally, you can almost touch the Pepsi bear. It was right over there, right on the opposite side, right next door. So I like to think those, even though those things are not here anymore, I still like to think, wow, there was a time when that stuff was very close to Canyon Falls. So, yeah, that's Canyon Falls Log Flume. You just always want to make sure that you're paying attention, and always paying attention. Never be on your phone up here. Always make sure the boats are moving at a precise speed. Guests are enjoying themselves and
Facing this way.
yes, and always facing that way, and the view is amazing. If you're up here on 4th of July, you got a front row seat to the fireworks. Right over there. And let me tell you, I've had a few 4th of Julys up here. It's nice. The ride is still moving, and you have to pay attention, but it's still pretty cool to see the fireworks. So, yeah. This is such a great view. It really is, especially when the rides are moving. It's really nice, day or night. It's very nice to be up here. So yeah, that's about it. This opens up. This is what the inside looks like. So yeah, we usually stay away from here. But that's how everything's wired in. So yeah, that's Canyon Falls Log Flume. At the end of the summer, we usually drain the water out. This ditch right here, that's about 5 feet deep. We go all the way down there and underneath the ride, and we clean out all the paint chips in the trough because we have to paint it again. But it's cool going under there when we drain the water. It's really cool. This door locks, by the way. Let's go. Canyon Falls Log Flume.
best. We'll do what we like, cause that suits us. How do you do? My best greeting. Pretty good, sure as you want. Pretty good, sure as you want. How do you do? Mighty pleasant greeting. How do you do? Say it when you're meeting. How do you do? With everyone repeating. Pretty good, sure as you want. Pretty good, sure as you want. The weather is good, the fishing is fine. Oh, what do we do with all of our time? Well, we sit and we think and we wiggle our toes. That's what you ask us. That's what we know. Pretty good, sure as you want. Pretty good, sure as you want. How do you do? Fine, how are you? How you got on? Pretty good, sure as you want. Pretty good, sure as you want. Pretty good, sure as you want. I'm looking for a little more adventure.
I'm heading for a little bit of fun now.
I'm hoping for a little more excitement.
Time to be moving along.
I've had enough of this old bright patch.
I think an adventure's about to hatch.
I'm moving on, say goodbye to me. Down at the laughing place where I'll be. I'm looking for a little more adventure.
I'm heading for a little bit of fun now.
I'm hoping for a little more excitement.
Time to be moving along.
I nailed up my door, I'll see you around. The laughing place is where I'm bound.
If you're heading out and not coming back, then I'm coming to pack my sack.
I'm looking for a little bit of fun now.
Time to be moving along.
Time to be moving along. He's looking for a little more adventure, but he's heading for a little bit of trouble. He's heading for a little bit of danger. Time to be turning around. Time to be turning around. Careful, we're out of better than your ways. You're heading for trouble one of these days. Warning this rabbit, I'm afraid it's a waste. He's heading for the laughing place. Time to be turning around. Time to be turning around. He's looking for a little more adventure, but he's heading for a little bit of trouble. He's heading for a little bit of danger. Time to be turning around. Time to be turning around. Time to be turning around.
All up here. All right, I'll see you down. Bye.
She came from somewhere back in a long ago. The sentimental fool, she trying hard to recreate what had yet to be created. For once in her life, he musters a smile for his nostalgic tale, and never coming near what they wanted to say, only to realize it never really was. She had a place in his life. He never He's watching her go, but what a fool believes he sees. No wise man has the power to reason away what seems to be is always better than nothing. Than nothing at all. Keep sending him somewhere back in long ago, where he could still believe there's a place in her life. Someday, somewhere, she will return. She had a place in his life. He never made her think twice. As he rises to her apology, anybody else would surely know. He's watching her go,